NAACP has issued a travel advisory basically saying, hey, black people, don't go to the state of Florida. It's problematic. Let's go to the president of the NAACP for context. Here it is.
CEO of the NAACP. Derek, good to have you here. Why take this step?
It's important for the NAACP and other organizations to speak for individuals who are under attack. We have a large membership base in the state of Florida who feel besieged upon, and unfortunately the governor is using his platform to advance some of the most regressive racist policies in his attempt to become the president of the United States. You have an individual who's leaning towards running for the presidency, and the nation must be aware and be cautious that if we decide to move in this direction, it would take us backwards to the Trump years or to the 1950s. And so this is for individuals across the country to be clearly aware of how harmful this individual would be if, in fact, he occupied the White House.
NBC News reached out to the governor's office, haven't received any response yet. Have you been contacted by Florida officials? And prior to this, I'm wondering, did you try to address your concerns directly with the governor or other state leaders?
Well, our state NAACP leaders and other leaders of the Legislative Black Caucus in Florida and many officials in Florida, including corporations like this, have reached out, made it appeals, but it's gone on deaf ears. He is appealing to the lowest common denominator of humanity. He's seeking to amplify the voice of a small minority of individuals who lack any integrity or morality in terms of their neighbors and other individuals.
Let's put up the picture full mask, give some context to the reason the NAACP president and CEO decided to go this route. So NAACP president and CEO Derek Johnson defends the NAACP's position, which warns African Americans of traveling to Florida, citing increasingly hostile conditions cultivated under Governor Ron DeSantis. The NAACP joined the League of United Latin American Citizens, a Latino civil rights organization, LULAC, and Equality Florida, gay rights advocacy group, in issuing the travel advisories for the Sunshine State. Now, I want you to remember, there are multiple groups that signed off on this advisory, where tourism is one of the state's largest job sectors. The NAACP's Board of Directors tells tourists that before traveling to Florida, they should understand the state of Florida devalues and marginalizes the contributions of and the challenges faced by African Americans and other communities of color. All right, so let's put up some of the other organizations that joined in this proclamation, okay? It's basically a human rights coalition standing up against openly hostile activity. But the racism has already started. Florida's discrimination against people of color. DeSantis' administration in January rejected the College Board's advanced placement African American Studies course. Remember that? Programs on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And also passed the Stop Woke Act that restricts certain race-based conversations. LULAC cited a new law that prohibits local governments from providing money to organizations that issue identification cards and invalidates out-of-state driver's license held by undocumented immigrants. The law also requires hospitals that accept Medicaid to include a citizenship question on intake forms, which critics have said is intended to dissuade immigrants living in the US illegally from seeking medical care. Now, I want to remind everybody what he's actually doing. He's showing America what America will look like under him as president. So he has utilized Florida as his laboratory. The mad scientist known as DeSantis has been able to pass legislation contrary to the sentiment of progress, diversity, all of the things that racist, bigoted people typically like. He's been able to do what Donald Trump never could do. He actually got it passed. It became law. Now, did some of this stuff get overturned in judicial proceedings? Yes. But the win based on his constituents will still go to him because he got it done. There's more. Discrimination against LGBTQ communities, recent efforts to limit discussions on LGBTQ topics in schools, the removal of books with gay characters from school libraries, a recent ban on gender affirming care for minors, new restrictions on abortion access, and a law allowing Floridians to carry concealed guns with no permit contributed to Equality Florida's warning. Now, remember, all of these bills are red meat bills. That's what they are. Nobody's checking for legislation like this. It solves no real actual problems. The guy's not solving problems. He's simply creating hostility. Same thing Trump did. But that hostility carried the power wave of Trump all the way to the White House. So he's taken a page out of that book. Yes, his style may be a little different, but the sentiment is the same, and in some ways even more dangerous. Reaction from the GOP. Tulsi Gabbard said this.
So frankly, there's a positive and negative to this story. The negative, of course, is the NAACP is racializing and weaponizing racism for political benefit. Of course, is the NAACP is racializing and weaponizing racism.
And I said from the GOP intentionally. You heard this woman say, the NAACP is radicalizing racism. I'm done. Radicalizing racism? Ma'am, racism is already radical. The fact that you would say they're radicalizing racism, as if racism is this, fluffy thing to be played with and honored, and listen to what you're saying. And see, that's your inside voice that somehow made it out here. Racism is real. You're not arguing that it is not. You're saying, well, my goodness, this black group is radicalizing it. No, racism is already a radical behavior. We're actually trying to decrease it, eliminate it, love people beyond it, help people see it. There's more. Okay? Ann Coulter. What did Ann Coulter say? NAACP issues warning to African Americans to avoid visiting Florida. Employees in restaurants and tourism industry brace for a 0.00% drop in tips. Now, I want to remind you, let's keep that up. I want to remind everyone that it wasn't just the NAACP who made the proclamation. Other groups did too, as you clearly see. But who are they coming after? The black organization. Who are they making commentary against? Black people, okay? That is by design. That is strategic, right? We have officially gone to a place where racism is bold, it is in front, it is out loud. Donald Trump helped popularize the notion again, but he is not the reason it is here. The reason it is here is the fault of both political parties, both major political parties who decided not to do what was necessary to get rid of this sentiment among the citizens. So now here we are, where literally our entire political framework is being manipulated by known and proud racists. Sharon, thoughts on this?
Ron DeSantis is dangerous, we know that. But can you imagine, Dr. Richey, if he was an effective off-prompter communicator? Thank goodness he's not. I would like to see people join forces like was done with Arizona, only tenfold. And I'm sorry, it's gonna hurt some good people down in Florida. But if this is acceptable, then we have to make it not acceptable.
That's right. That's right. You got to show there's no reward for this kind of governance. There's no honor in this kind of sentiment. It has to be dealt with. Withdrawal. Economic withdrawal is the fastest way to change things in a country based on the idea of capitalism. It is the language of these individuals. All right.